Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to welcome you all on our pre-conference podcast episode that will be that will be visited by our leading expert of Helen Electricity Network, Mika Loukkalahti. I was practicing this pronunciation, Mika, as you know, before we started the recording. So Mika will be joining us here as a pre-conference podcast guest and the conference speaker, which will be taking place on 7th and 8th of April on power outage management and network security. Mika, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your role in your utility, and tell us a little bit about your utility itself. And once again, thank you for being with us.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. Yeah, I'm Mika Loukkalahti. I come from Finland and I represent Helen Electricity Network. Helen is a big company and we are a DSO part of it. And our DSO is responsible of electricity distribution in Helsinki city, Finland. And myself, I have a 24-year experience working in this utility, and my main responsibility at this moment is to lead our technological development and also making of planning principles. And of course, I have a long experience on automation area, and I have taken part to the measures how we have managed to improve our reliability level. We can say that we are one of the best utilities in the world, and maybe the best utility in Europe when we are talking about the electricity supply reliability level. We can say that in Helsinki, the outage time per customer per year is only some minutes per year. Our record was a couple of years ago, only 1 minute per customer per year. So maybe that's from myself and our utility.
Mika, thank you very much. There is definitely a reason behind why you are, joining us as a speaker, and you're a leading expert in the industry. I want to bring up the topic as we're getting closer to your experience and we're getting closer to your involvement about the conference. Once again, the conference on network security and global power outage management will be held on 7th and 8th of April, where Mika will be presenting. And Mika will be presenting the automation as a tool towards an excellent reliability level, which is definitely a huge importance. It's a topic of a huge importance by itself. But before going into the details from myself, would you please tell us why did you select this topic? What exactly you're going to talk about and why is it important?
Yes, thank you. Yes, the title will be Automation as a Tool Towards an Excellent Reliability Level. So of course this is a outage management seminar, so we should talk about outages and how to decrease the amount of them and the effect of them. So in Helsinki, we already have managed to have a very good level in this area, and I'm going to tell what we have in fact done to reach this excellent level. Shortly, I can tell you something. Of course, automation is one part, and it's my favorite area. But of course, in the basis, we have the network structure. So cable network, mesh network, and so on. That's of course the basic element and the maintenance issues and so on. But then if we go to the automation part, first part is of course every utility has SCADA, but then we go to the substation level. So very let's say state-of-the-art substation automation can help you to increase your reliability level. Of course, using IEC 6150 automation is one part of it. But then if we go further to the network, we go to the secondary substation, and secondary substation automation is the next part to improve your reliability. And we have already 30% of secondary substations automated. And then we have the next point. This is done mostly in German utilities, and also we we use this method. So it's in fact this alarming earth fault protection method at medium voltage networks. That's possible in cable networks and if you have very low touch voltage levels. So in fact, it's possible that if you have an earth fault, you don't need to trip the network out at all. You can run the network during an earth fault. So that's one important method. 50% of faults can be run without an outage. Maybe the last part is then, which is very typical already in Finland, is the using of automated meter reading systems. So in Finland and in some countries also, all the customers have already equipped with automated meter reading systems. And also we can use those systems to help to get better visibility to the low voltage network and also to find some faults from the low voltage network. That may be the final step of this. These issues, of course, our low voltage system is not yet perfect because now we are moving to the next generation to the AMR systems, but we are improving that. So maybe that's shortly described my presentation.
Your presentation definitely is very well rounded. Once again, thank you very much for being part of this conference. Mika, what I wanted to ask you is that after going through the bullet points of the presentation that you will be, let's say, showcasing at the conference, what would you suggest for the audience? So basically, what type of the network operators, or basically what type of the companies, is it going to be highest priority for? Is it, let's say, tier one, bigger companies, it's smaller ones, mid-level? I mean, who is to benefit from this the most?
Of course, I think the seminar would be for all kind of utilities, mainly for DSOs, not perhaps for TSOs also.
As well.
Of course, the utilities who want to improve their outage levels and safety, of course, it's mostly for them. But I think for all utilities, of course, typically rural utilities, they have more outages and maybe more to do. But on the other hand, in the cities, the customers are more demanding, so they don't accept any outages at all. So maybe this is for every type of outages. Of course, what I can give my best abilities in the cable networks and the city utilities. So at least I know surely what city utilities should do and the utilities which have a lot of cable networks. And I think that in Europe, at least, many utilities have a lot of cable network already.
So basically, Mika, this conference definitely on a larger scale, it is definitely relevant for all of the market that you mentioned about. But your specific conference presentation would be also beneficial, basically, and not to miss one for these companies, right? So it's not tailored per se for your region. It's not tailored because you mentioned that some of the alarming earth fault protection systems are used by the German and DACH German-speaking countries. So basically, no matter the size of the company, this is going to be relevant for all the European companies, right?
Yes.
Perfect. And Mika, one more thing. For the job titles in the company, so who usually should be listening to this, and who usually should be? Of course, I understand there are some, very typical, usual suspect job titles, right? But apart from that, who do you think should be involved from the company, into these topics?
Of course, maybe if the utilities have different departments, maybe the department who is responsible for the operational department, maybe that's one big issue, because they are dealing with outages. That people who are operating there should be very involved and who want to improve the situation. So the operational department, but on the other hand, also the people who are working in the planning department, who are doing projects and improving the network. And of course, the maintenance part too. So I think it's a quite big variety. all personnel who want to deal with the audit management and decreasing the impact of the audits in the company. And maybe one more issue is, of course, that it's for utilities, but of course for the service providers too. So many utilities, in fact, in Finland, we have outsourced a lot of things. So in fact, our service providers are doing our network maintenance and also the local operation and doing of and building of the network. So maybe this is also for the service provider side.
That's a very interesting point. Mika, I want to ask you, can you elaborate a little bit on the service providers? So which type of companies exactly do you mean? You mean the service providers that provide some sort of prediction or maintenance services, or what type of service providers are we speaking about?
In our case and in Finland, usually service providers, they are doing the network construction and network maintenance and even local operation. But of course, for the bigger project, then service providers and vendors, they are doing the real project. So in fact, we as a utilities, we are buying the system, of course, maybe monitoring that we get what we want, but there are many types of service providers, and of course there are some consultants who can give more detailed views and development for the network.
I get your point, Mika. Thank you very much. And Mika, one more thing I want to ask you, as end part of this, is what do you think things are changing recently, and with all this let's say green with all this green I'm trying to find the right word with this all greening, so to say, yeah, and we're greening everything, and definitely we're changing our plan for the better, and the changes that are happening are definitely for the best. But what I want to ask you is, with this energy transition, green energy transition, that's the word that I was looking for. So how would you predict what would be different? You have 24 experience in this industry. So would there be, I mean, should we prepare for something and fasten our seatbelts, or what will there be a, this will be a smooth transition, how it will affect the topic of our conference? And basically, if you can make any comment on this, what should we be expecting, some sort of dramatic changes, and should the industry be adapting to something, in the nearest future, or everything will be smooth and everything will be fine, and we just don't need to do much of the adoption and much of out of the box thinking? What do you think? Yes,
that's a very good question, because yes, the world is changing. It's changing dramatically, and I think it has already changed in the mid-Europe and Southern Europe. Maybe in the Nordic countries, we are in that point a little bit behind. Of course, I'm talking about the distributed generation. That is dramatically, the number of distributed generation has increased. Of course, wind power, but in the lower voltage levels is solar power. There, I think the networks are in some part of Europe, they're already full of distributed generation, and that causes also problems for the utilities. And of course, utilities have to take that into account. There are some, and of course, some other things. There are the new kind of demand. For example, electrical vehicles, a lot of coming, then maybe and changing to the heat pumps and so on. So that's a big change, and that has already happened, and that also causes some challenges to the audits management side. And I guess that we have some speakers who are also maybe talking more about these issues, these distributed generation and new kind of demand. Maybe in the Nordic countries, we have maybe stronger networks that you have in the other part of Europe, and we don't have that big penetration level of that distributed generation yet, but we are coming also there. But I think that's the situation in Europe and in all over the world.
Thank you very much for your commentary. Thank you very much for being an excellent guest speaker. Very exciting to listen to. I'm looking forward for our conference, which will be taking place in Berlin, 7th and 8th of April. So, Mika, thank you very much, and we'll see you at the conference.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.